I step out of the cab, the weight of my duffel bag slung over my shoulder. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the familiar street. My heart races as I approach the front door, the excitement of finally coming home after years of deployment thrumming through me. I fumble with my keys, hands trembling, eager to see my wife Laura and our daughter Emily. I picture Laura's face lighting up, Emily running into my arms. I've played this moment over and over in my head during endless nights in the desert. I'm finally here. The key slides into the lock, but something feels off. The door swings open, and I'm hit with a wave of confusion. The house is different. Small things I can't quite place at first. A jacket I don't recognize is hanging on the coat rack. Shoes too large for Emily or Laura sit by the door. My heart skips a beat. I shake off the unease, convincing myself that it's just the weariness of travel, that maybe Laura bought new things while I was away. I walk through the hallway, the familiar creak of the floorboards under my boots comforting. Memories flood back. Christmas mornings, lazy Sunday afternoons, the smell of Laura's cooking. But now there's a strange scent in the air, musky and unfamiliar. I head toward the living room, hoping to catch them by surprise, but the room is empty. I call out, "Laura!" "Emily?" My voice echoes back, too loud in the quiet house. I step into the kitchen. My heart drops. On the counter sits a half-empty bottle of wine and two glasses. I reach out and touch the rim of one glass. It's warm. I clench my fists, trying to push down the rising panic. Something is wrong, terribly wrong, but I can't put my finger on it. I move upstairs, each step heavier than the last. I stop at Emily's bedroom door. I hesitate, then push it open. Her room is a mess of stuffed animals and discarded clothes. But there's something different here too. Photos on the wall, new toys I've never seen. The bed is unmade, like she's just gotten up and left. I feel a pang of guilt, knowing I've missed so much of her growing up. Then I hear a noise, a soft cry from the hallway. I turn and see Emily. She's grown so much, but there's no joy on her face. No rush to greet me. Her eyes widen in terror, and she falls to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "Daddy, how?" she whispers, her voice choked with tears. "They said you were dead. They even buried you." My mind reels. I feel like I've been hit by a truck. Everything I thought I knew is crumbling around me. Emily's words echo in my ears as I stand frozen, trying to make sense of the impossible. Dead, buried. My legs feel like they're about to give out. I reach out to comfort her, but she pulls away, her eyes filled with fear and confusion. I'm stunned, completely lost, as the world I knew collapses in front of me. I'm still standing in shock, my daughter's tears soaking through my shirt as she clings to me. Her sobs are heart-wrenching, and I feel helpless. But I need answers. I gently pull her back, tilting her face up to mine. "Emily," I whisper, my voice strained. "Where's your mom?" She stares at me, eyes wide and red from crying. She's at home," she stammers. But, but Uncle John, he's there too." Uncle John, my brother. A cold dread curls in my stomach, but I force myself to stay calm for her sake. I hug her once more, then gently push her towards her room. "Stay here, okay? I'll be back." I walk down the hallway, every step feeling heavier than the last. My heart is pounding in my chest, the blood roaring in my ears. I reach the master bedroom, the door slightly ajar. I hesitate, my hand hovering over the doorknob. I can hear voices inside, hers and his. I push the door open silently, slipping inside without a sound. And there they are. Laura, my wife, is lying on the bed, propped up on pillows, her hair tousled like she just woke up. She's laughing softly, a sound that once brought me joy but now sends a spike of anger through me. John, my brother, is sitting on the edge of the bed, his back to me, casually flipping through a book. My book, my clothes, my wife, my bed. I don't move, barely breathing as I watch them. My heart is hammering so hard I'm sure they'll hear it, but they're too wrapped up in their world to notice. I feel sick, my stomach churning as I try to process what I'm seeing. Laura shifts on the bed, stretching lazily, and then she looks at him with a sly smile. "So," she says, her voice low and teasing, "what do you think we should do today?" John chuckles, reaching out to stroke her leg. "I don't know," he murmurs, his hand slipping higher. "But I'm sure we can think of something fun." I feel my blood boil, a red haze clouding my vision. How could she? How could they? I was supposed to be dead, buried, gone from their lives. And yet here they are, playing house in what was once my life. I back out of the room slowly, careful not to make a sound. My mind is racing, but I can't think clearly. I need to get out of here. Need to figure out what the hell is going on. I slip into the closet in the hallway, the same closet I used to hide in during our stupid games of hide and seek with Emily. The irony isn't lost on me. I crouch down, trying to calm my breathing, trying to think. But all I can hear is Laura's laugh. All I can see is John's hand on her. It's like a nightmare, but I know I'm awake. My mind flashes back to the years we spent together, the promises we made, the love we shared. How could it all be a lie? I press my back against the wall, fists clenched so tight my nails dig into my palms. I can't go in there and confront them. Not yet. I need to know more. I need to understand how this happened, why they did this to me. My thoughts are a chaotic mess, bouncing between rage and confusion, between the urge to storm in there and the desperate need to hide. I stay in the closet, listening to their voices, catching snippets of their conversation. They talk about mundane things, groceries, dinner plans, what to do with Emily. It's surreal hearing them speak so casually about my daughter, about a life that should have been mine. They're planning a trip, talking about how much they need a break. The audacity of it stings, but I force myself to stay quiet, to keep listening. Then Laura says something that makes my blood run cold. "We should visit his grave tomorrow," she says, her voice soft, almost reverent. "It's been a while." I think it would be good for us." John is silent for a moment, then he sighs. "Yeah," he agrees. "It's hard to believe he's really gone sometimes. But we did the right thing, Laura. We gave him a proper burial. We moved on." Buried. They really buried me. But how? Why? My mind spins with possibilities, each one more horrifying than the last. I try to remember if there was ever a time, a moment when they could have done this, but nothing makes sense. I was deployed, serving my country. How did they declare me dead? How did they manage to replace me? I feel the walls closing in, the weight of betrayal crushing me. They didn't just betray me, they erased me. They took my life, my family, and they buried me like I never existed. My chest tightens, and for a moment, I think I might break, that the rage and hurt will consume me. But I can't let that happen. I won't. I need to stay strong to figure this out. I need to make them pay for what they've done. But I have to be smart about it. Charging in there, screaming and fighting, won't get me anywhere. No, I need to be patient, to gather more information, to understand every detail of their betrayal. And then, when the time is right, I'll make my move. I stay hidden in that closet for what feels like hours, listening, waiting. They move through the house, their voices getting closer, then fading as they go downstairs. I hear the front door open and close, and then the house falls silent. I wait a few more minutes, just to be sure, and then I slip out of the closet. I move quickly through the house, searching for anything that might give me more answers. I find John's clothes in the closet, his toothbrush next to hers in the bathroom, his cologne on the dresser. It's all so wrong, so twisted. I rifle through drawers, flipping through documents, looking for any clue, any explanation. And then I find it. Papers tucked away in a drawer, official-looking documents with my name on them. I unfold them with trembling hands, my eyes scanning the text. A death certificate. My death certificate. My vision blurs as I try to make sense of the words. According to this, I died in a car accident over a year ago. There's a letter from the military, offering their condolences to my widow. And then there's a life insurance policy, one that paid out a hefty sum, more than enough to set them up for life. My mind races. They didn't just replace me, they planned this. They declared me dead, cashed in on my death, and then moved on like I never existed. My brother, my own flesh and blood, betrayed me for money. And Laura, she was in on it too. The woman I loved, the mother of my child, conspired with him to steal my life. I collapse onto the bed, my head in my hands. I feel sick, disgusted by the depth of their betrayal. How could I have been so blind? How could I have trusted them? But even as the despair threatens to overwhelm me, the anger burns brighter. They think they've won, that they've gotten away with it. But they're wrong. I'm not dead. I'm right here, and I'm not going to let them get away with this. I'll make them pay for what they've done, for the lies, the betrayal, the pain they've caused. But I can't rush it. I have to be careful, to plan every move. I have to stay hidden, to gather more information, to find out what else they're hiding. I need to make sure that when I strike, there's no escape for them. I need to be methodical, to outsmart them, to turn their own game against them. The first step is to watch, to learn their routines, their weaknesses. I'll wait, bide my time, and when they least expect it, I'll take back everything they stole from me. And when I'm done, they'll wish they had buried me for real. I wake up before dawn, lying on the floor of the guest room where I've been hiding out. It's the only place I can stay without being detected. My muscles ache from the cold, hard floor, but I push through the discomfort. I have work to do. I move silently through the house, careful to avoid making any noise. John and Laura are still asleep in the master bedroom, their soft breaths drifting through the open door. I don't linger. Every second I spend in their presence feels like poison seeping into my veins. I head downstairs to the office. This room used to be mine, where I planned my future, wrote letters to Laura when I was deployed. Now it's filled with John's things, his laptop, his papers, his mess. I scan the room quickly, looking for anything that might give me more insight into their plan. I need to understand everything before I make my move. I start with the desk. The drawers are locked, but that doesn't stop me. I've learned a few tricks over the years, and it takes only a minute to pick the lock. Inside, I find documents, bank statements, property deeds, insurance policies. My fingers tremble as I sift through them, piecing together the puzzle of their betrayal. It's all here, laid out in black and white. The death certificate was just the beginning. John transferred all my assets into his name shortly after I was declared dead. My life insurance policy, the one that should have gone to Laura and Emily, was split between the two of them. They've been living off that money, buying everything from the house to the car parked outside. I feel sick as I realize the extent of their greed. But it's not just about money. There are emails, messages between John and Laura that make my stomach turn. They started this affair long before I was declared dead. It began innocently enough, or so they claim, but it quickly escalated. The messages are filled with promises, plans for a future without me in it. They talked about me like I was an obstacle, something to be removed. I read one email from John to Laura, sent just a few months before my death. It's chilling in its coldness. He talks about how easy it would be to fake an accident, to make it look like I died in a car crash. He even mentions knowing someone who could help. I grip the edge of the desk, the wood biting into my palms. They planned this together, plotted my death while I was thousands of miles away, fighting for my country. I can't stand to read more, but I force myself to keep going. I need to know everything. I open another drawer and find a hidden compartment. Inside is a small box, and when I open it, I find photos. Photos of John and Laura together, some taken in our bed, others at places I used to take her. The images are explicit, and I feel a wave of revulsion as I see them tangled together, smiling, happy. They had no shame, no guilt about what they were doing. The betrayal is complete. They didn't just take my life, they enjoyed doing it. They reveled in their deceit, in the fact that they were fooling everyone, including me. I clench my fists, my nails digging into my skin until I feel the sting of pain. I let it ground me, remind me that I'm still alive, that I can still fight back. But I have to be smart about it. I need to think carefully, plan every step. They've had years to perfect their lies, to cover their tracks. I have to find a way to expose them, to make sure they can't escape what they've done. I spend hours going through everything in the office, gathering evidence, taking photos of the documents with my phone. I don't know how I'll use it all yet, but I know it will be crucial. I'll need proof if I'm going to bring them down. As the sun starts to rise, I hear movement upstairs. They're waking up. I put everything back in place, making sure nothing looks disturbed, then slip out of the office and head back to my hiding spot in the guest room. I'm not ready to confront them. Not yet. I need to find more, to dig deeper into their secrets. Over the next few days, I establish a routine. I stay hidden during the day, moving only when I know they're not around. At night, when they're asleep, I sneak out and continue my search. I find more emails, more documents, more evidence of their treachery. I also start following John when he leaves the house, watching where he goes, who he meets. I'm careful, staying in the shadows, making sure he never sees me. I learn his habits, his routines, the places he frequents. It's all part of the plan, all part of the puzzle I'm putting together. The more I watch, the more I realize how much of my life he's taken. He's not just living in my house, he's living my life. He's taken my place in every way that matters. One night, as I follow him to a bar downtown, I see him meet with a man I recognize from the emails. It's the guy he mentioned, the one who could help with the accident. My heart races as I watch them talk, their heads close together, voices low. I can't hear what they're saying, but I don't need to. I know this is the man who helped them fake my death. I snap a few photos, careful not to draw attention, then slip away before they notice me. I feel a sense of satisfaction, knowing I've caught them in the act. But I also feel a deep, burning anger. They didn't just betray me, they conspired to kill me, to erase me from existence. And now they're continuing to live their lives as if I never existed. The next morning, I confront Laura for the first time. I've been avoiding direct contact with her, afraid I'd lose control, but I can't wait any longer. I need to see her face, need to hear her voice as she lies to me. I wait until John leaves for work, then slip out of the guest room and confront her in the kitchen. She's pouring herself a cup of coffee, still in her robe, when I step into the room. For a moment, she doesn't see me, but when she turns around and spots me standing there, her face pales. What? What are you doing here?" she stammers, her voice shaky. I take a step closer, watching as she shrinks back. "I was just passing through," I say, my voice cold, controlled. "Thought I'd stop by, see how my wife is doing." She swallows hard, her eyes darting around the room, looking for an escape. I didn't know you were. John said." She trails off, realizing she said too much. I take another step closer, closing the distance between us. "John said what?" I ask, my voice low and dangerous. She doesn't answer, just stares at me with wide, frightened eyes. I can see the fear in her, the realization that her lies are about to unravel. It gives me a twisted sense of satisfaction, knowing that she's finally feeling some of the pain she's caused me. "I know everything," I say, my voice hard. "I know about you and John, about the affair, about how you planned to fake my death. I know you took my money, my life, and you thought you could get away with it." She flinches at my words, her hands shaking so badly that she spills coffee all over the counter. I didn't want to," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "But John, he said it was the only way. He said you were never coming back, that it was the best thing for all of us." Her words cut through me like a knife. The best thing? She thought killing me was the best thing? I feel the rage boiling inside me, but I keep it in check. I need to stay focused, to keep control. "You could have said no," I hiss, taking another step closer until I'm standing right in front of her. You could have told him to go to hell, but you didn't, did you? You went along with it. You betrayed me. Tears spill down her cheeks as she finally breaks down, collapsing into a chair. I didn't know what to do, she sobs. He was so convincing, so sure that it was the only way. And I was scared, okay? I didn't know how to survive without you. But I never wanted this. I never wanted you dead. Her tears don't move me. I've seen too much, heard too much to feel any sympathy for her. She made her choice, and now she has to live with it. I lean down, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look at me. Well, I'm not dead, I say, my voice low and menacing. And now you're going to pay for what you've done. Both of you. She sobs harder, but I don't let go. I need her to understand just how serious this is, just how much she's messed up. I'm going to make sure you and John regret every single decision you made. You took everything from me, and now I'm going to take it all back. I let go of her chin, and she crumples into the chair, crying uncontrollably. I don't feel any pity for her. She's brought this on herself, she and John both, and now it's time for them to face the consequences. But as I turn to leave, I feel a pang of guilt. Emily, my daughter. She's the one innocent in all of this, the one who's going to be caught in the crossfire. I have to be careful, have to make sure she's protected, that she doesn't suffer because of what her mother and uncle have done. I'll have to find a way to keep her safe, to shield her from the worst of it. But first, I need to finish what I've started. I need to take them down, to expose their lies, their betrayal for the world to see. I leave the kitchen, my mind racing with plans, with ideas for how to bring them down. I'm going to need help, going to need allies who can help me expose the truth. But I'm not going to stop until I've taken back everything they stole from me. And when I'm done, they'll wish they had never crossed me. They'll wish they had left me for dead, because I'm not going to stop until they've lost everything. Just like I did. My heart pounds in my chest as I make my way back into the house. Every step echoes the rage bubbling under the surface, but I keep it in check. I've waited for this moment, planned every detail. It's time to confront them, to finally end this nightmare. I know John is home. I watched him walk through the door not 10 minutes ago. Laura is in the kitchen, likely unaware of the storm that's about to hit. I take a deep breath, steadying myself. There's no turning back now. I step into the living room, and John looks up from the couch. The instant he sees me, his face drains of color. For a split second, we just stare at each other. The shock in his eyes is almost satisfying, but it's quickly replaced by something darker. Fear. He opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. "Hello, John," I say, my voice low, almost calm. He finally finds his voice. What? How? I think you know how, I reply, taking a step closer. I'm not dead. Far from it. His eyes dart around the room, looking for a way out, a way to escape what's coming. But there's nowhere for him to go. I've made sure of that. Laura appears in the doorway, holding a glass of wine. When she sees me, the glass slips from her fingers, shattering on the floor. "Oh my God," she breathes, backing away slowly. This can't be." "It's real, Laura," I say, turning my gaze to her. "Very real." The room is thick with tension, the air so heavy it's hard to breathe. John rises from the couch, but I take another step forward, forcing him to stay where he is. I want him to feel trapped, just like they made me feel. How did you, Laura stammers, her voice trembling. "How did I survive?" I finish for her. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm here now, and I know everything." They both go pale, their guilt and fear written all over their faces. It's almost pathetic, how easily they crumble now that they know they've been caught. But I'm not here to pity them. I'm here to make them pay. "You plotted to kill me," I say, my voice cold, cutting through the silence. "You took my life, my family, my home. And you thought you could just get away with it." John takes a step toward me, his hands raised as if to placate me. "Listen, We can talk about this. It's not what you think. Shut up, I snap, my anger flaring. I've heard enough of your lies. I've seen the emails, the documents. I know what you did, and I'm done listening to your bullshit. Laura starts crying, but I don't let it sway me. I've spent too many nights in this house, hiding in the shadows, watching them live my life. Every tear she sheds only fuels my resolve. We didn't want to hurt you, she pleads, her voice thick with tears. We thought it was the only way. John said, I don't give a damn what John said, I roar, making them both jump. You could have told him no. You could have stopped this, but you didn't. You went along with it, and now you're going to pay the price. John takes another step toward me, desperation in his eyes. Please, let's just talk about this. We can figure something out. For Emily's sake. Emily's sake? I spit the words back at him. You're going to talk to me about Emily? You don't get to say her name. You don't get to pretend like you care about her. I take a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. I can't let my anger get the best of me. Not now. I need to see this through, to make sure they understand just how much they've lost. I'm not here to negotiate him, I say, my voice steady once more. I'm here to get justice, and I'm not leaving until you've both paid for what you did. John's eyes flicker with something I haven't seen in a long time. Genuine fear. He knows there's no way out, that I'm not bluffing. But then something changes. His expression hardens and I see a flash of the man who once convinced my wife to betray me. Fine, he says, his voice cold and calculated. You want justice? Then let's see who really deserves it. Before I can react, he lunges at me, his fist swinging toward my face. I barely dodge it, the force of his punch grazing my cheek. The sudden attack throws me off balance, but I recover quickly, countering with a punch to his gut. He doubles over, gasping for air, but he's not done. He grabs a lamp from the table and swings it at me, the ceramic shattering against my arm as I block the blow. Laura screams, backing into the corner of the room, her hands covering her mouth. I can see the panic in her eyes, the realization that this is spiraling out of control. But I don't have time to focus on her. John comes at me again, this time with a knife he's pulled from the coffee table drawer. I barely manage to avoid the blade as it slices through the air, narrowly missing my side. We grapple, struggling for control of the knife. The blade is inches from my throat, and I can feel the cold metal as it grazes my skin. But I refuse to let him win, to let him take my life again. I use every ounce of strength I have left, twisting his arm until he cries out in pain and drops the knife. It clatters to the floor, and I kick it away, sending it skidding across the room. But John isn't giving up. He tackles me, sending us both crashing into the coffee table. The impact knocks the wind out of me, but I keep fighting, keep pushing him off me. We're both bleeding, bruised, but I won't stop until he's down. Finally, I manage to get on top of him, pinning him to the ground. I wrap my hands around his throat, squeezing until his eyes bulge and his face turns red. He claws at my hands, trying to pry them off, but I hold on tight, fueled by years of rage and betrayal. Stop! Laura screams, rushing forward to pull me off him. Please stop! I release him, shoving him away from me. He rolls onto his side, coughing and gasping for air. I'm breathing hard, my chest heaving with the effort of holding back the urge to kill him. But I can't let it end like this. Not in front of Laura. Not in front of Emily. Laura drops to her knees beside John, cradling his head in her lap. She looks up at me, tears streaming down her face. Please, she whispers, don't do this. I take a step back, my hands trembling with adrenaline. I won't kill him, I say, my voice hoarse, but I'm going to make sure he pays for everything he's done. Just then, the door to the living room swings open, and Emily walks in. She freezes in the doorway, her eyes wide as she takes in the scene. The broken glass, the blood, her mother and uncle on the floor, and me standing over them. Daddy? She whispers, her voice small and scared. My heart breaks at the sound of her voice, the fear in her eyes. This isn't how she was supposed to find out. This isn't how any of this was supposed to happen. I turn to her, trying to keep my voice calm. Emily, it's okay, I say, but the words sound hollow even to my own ears. Everything's going to be okay. But she doesn't move. She just stands there staring at us, at the destruction in the room. I can see the confusion in her eyes, the way she's trying to make sense of what she's seeing. I want to go to her, to hold her and tell her that everything will be fine. But I know it's too late for that. She's seen too much. Laura rises slowly, her eyes locked on Emily. Emily, sweetheart, she says, her voice trembling. Come here. But Emily doesn't move. She just shakes her head, her eyes filling with tears. No, she whispers, her voice breaking. No, I don't understand. What's happening? I take a step toward her, but she backs away, her fear turning to anger. You said you were dead, she cries, her voice rising. They said you were dead. I know, I say, my heart breaking at the pain in her voice. I know they told you that, but it wasn't true. I'm here, Emily. I'm alive. But why? She sobs, her fists clenched at her sides. Why did you lie to me? Why did you let them lie to me? I don't have an answer for her. I don't know how to explain what happened, how to make her understand the betrayal, the lies, the pain. All I can do is stand there, feeling helpless as my daughter's world falls apart. Laura reaches out to her, but Emily pulls away, her tears streaming down her face. I hate you, she screams, her voice cracking with emotion. I hate all of Emily's scream pierces through me like a knife. I freeze, staring at her, at the raw pain on her face. Her words hang in the air, a harsh reminder of how much I've shattered her world. I've spent so much time consumed by my own rage and need for revenge that I've forgotten the one person who matters most, my daughter. She stands in the doorway, trembling, tears streaming down her cheeks. Laura and John are on the floor, battered and broken, but it's Emily who's truly hurt. The realization of what I've done, what I've allowed to happen, crashes over me like a tidal wave. I take a step toward her, my voice shaking. Emily, I'm so sorry, but she backs away, her eyes filled with terror. Stay away from me, she cries, her voice cracking. You're not my dad. My dad would never do this. The words hit me like a physical blow. She's right. I'm not the man I used to be. The man who loved her, who would do anything to protect her, is gone. I've let my need for vengeance consume me, turning me into something unrecognizable, even to my own daughter. Laura tries to reach for Emily, but she recoils, stepping back toward the door. Emily, please, Laura begs, her voice thick with tears. We can explain. This isn't what it looks like. But Emily isn't listening. She's shaking her head, her hands covering her ears as if trying to block out everything she's hearing. I see the fear in her eyes, the confusion, and it breaks something inside me. I've ruined everything. My quest for revenge has destroyed the one thing I wanted to protect. Emily, I try again, my voice pleading. Please let me explain. She looks at me, her eyes filled with betrayal. You lied to me, she whispers, her voice trembling. You said you were dead. They said you were dead. And now you're here, and everything's worse. I want to tell her that I had no choice, that I did what I did to protect her, but the words feel hollow. How can I justify the chaos I've brought into her life? How can I make her understand that I was trying to save her when all she sees is the destruction I've caused? Before I can say anything else, the sound of sirens fills the air, growing louder as they approach the house. My heart sinks. The police. Someone must have called them during the struggle, and now they're coming to finish this nightmare. John struggles to sit up, clutching his throat where I nearly strangled him. His eyes are wild, a mix of fear and desperation. You're done, he rasps, his voice hoarse. They're going to arrest you. You'll never see Emily again. I don't respond. I can't think about that now. I can only think about Emily, about the damage I've done, and how I can possibly make it right. The front door bursts open, and uniformed officers flood into the room, guns drawn. Hands in the air. Now, I raise my hands, feeling numb as they rush in, separating me from John and Laura. They shout orders, moving quickly to assess the situation, but all I can focus on is Emily, standing there watching as they handcuff me. Please, I say, my voice cracking as they force me to the ground. Please, let me talk to my daughter. But they don't listen. They drag me to my feet, roughly pushing me toward the door. As they do, I lock eyes with Emily one last time. She's crying, her face pale and streaked with tears. I want to tell her that I love her, that I'm sorry, but the words stick in my throat. All I can do is look at her, silently begging for forgiveness as they pull me away. They shove me into the back of a police car, slamming the door behind me. I watch through the window as the officers surround the house, talking to Laura and John, taking statements, trying to piece together what happened. But my mind is miles away, trapped in the wreckage of what I've done. The car starts moving, taking me away from the home I fought so hard to reclaim. As we drive, I replay everything in my mind. The lies, the betrayal, the moment I lost control. I wanted justice, but all I've done is destroy the very thing I was trying to protect. I've lost my daughter, the one person who meant everything to me. Hours later, I'm sitting in an interrogation room, the harsh fluorescent lights glaring down at me. My hands are cuffed to the table, and my head is pounding from the stress and exhaustion. I haven't slept, haven't eaten. I don't care. None of it matters anymore. I keep thinking about Emily, about the look on her face as they dragged me away. I keep hearing her voice, the way she said she hated me, the way she said I wasn't her dad. I feel like I'm being torn apart from the inside out. The door opens and a detective walks in, a man in his 40s with a stern face and tired eyes. He sits down across from me, dropping a thick folder on the table between us. I don't even look at it. I just stare at my hands, my mind racing. "Do you know why you're here?" the detective asks, his voice rough. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. He opens the folder, flipping through the pages. "We've got statements from your wife and your brother. They're saying you attacked them without provocation, that you're dangerous." A bitter laugh escapes me before I can stop it. "Of course they are." The detective looks at me, his eyes narrowing. "You find something funny about this?" "No," I say, shaking my head. "Nothing about this is funny." He watches me for a moment, then leans back in his chair, crossing his arms over his chest. "You want to tell me what happened?" I swallow hard, my throat dry. "They lied to me," I say, my voice barely above a whisper. "They lied to everyone. They told my daughter I was dead. They took my life, my family, everything, and they thought they could get away with it." The detective doesn't respond, just keeps watching me, waiting for me to continue. "I wasn't supposed to be here," I say, my voice shaking. "I was supposed to be dead. But I came back, and when I saw what they'd done, I lost it. I wanted to make them pay." The detective nods slowly. "And you thought attacking them was the way to do that?" "I didn't plan it," I admit, my voice breaking. "It just happened. I was so angry, so hurt. I wanted them to feel what I felt, to understand what they did to me." He studies me for a long moment, then closes the folder. "You know this doesn't look good for you," he says, his tone matter of fact. "We've got witnesses, evidence. You could be looking at serious charges, assault, attempted murder." "I know," I say, my voice hollow. "But they're lying. They planned this. They tried to kill me, to erase me from my own life." The detective sighs, rubbing his temples. "That's a hell of a story. But without proof, it's just your word against theirs." I shake my head, frustrated. "There is proof. I found documents, emails. They planned the whole thing. You just have to look." He gives me a skeptical look. "If those documents exist, we'll find them. But even if we do, it doesn't change what you did." I slump in my chair, defeated. I know he's right. No matter what they find, I can't take back what I did. I can't undo the damage I've caused. I've lost everything. My family, my daughter, my freedom. And for what? Revenge? Justice? None of it seems worth it anymore. The detective stands up, gathering his papers. "You'll be held here until your arraignment." After that, it's up to the courts. I nod, not trusting myself to speak. He leaves the room, and I'm left alone with my thoughts. The weight of everything I've done pressing down on me. I close my eyes, trying to block it all out, but it's no use. The images keep coming. Emily's face, her tears, the look of betrayal in her eyes. Time passes in a blur. I'm processed, fingerprinted, photographed, and thrown into a cell. The walls are cold and gray, the bed hard and uncomfortable. But I don't care. None of it matters anymore. I've lost the only thing that mattered, and there's no getting it back. Days pass, each one blending into the next. I don't speak to anyone, don't eat, don't sleep. I'm just existing, waiting for the inevitable. I know what's coming. A trial, a conviction, a sentence. And then what? Years in a cell, alone with my regrets? It's more than I can bear to think about. Finally, the day comes. They bring me to the courthouse, shackled and surrounded by guards. The media is there, cameras flashing as they lead me inside. I keep my head down, avoiding their questions, their prying eyes. I don't want to see the headlines, the stories they'll write about me, about what I've done. In the courtroom, I sit at the defense table, my hands trembling as I wait for the judge to arrive. My lawyer, a public defender, tries to talk to me, but I barely hear him. My mind is elsewhere, stuck in the past, replaying everything that led me to this moment. The judge enters and the proceedings begin. I hear the charges: assault, attempted murder, and a laundry list of others. I plead not guilty, though I know it's a lie. The trial is set, and I'm escorted back to my cell to wait. The trial is a blur of testimonies, evidence, and arguments. I barely pay attention, lost in my own thoughts. John and Laura testify, painting me as a monster, a man consumed by rage who tried to kill them without cause. My lawyer tries to counter, to present the evidence I found, but it's not enough. The jury sees the bruises, the broken glass, the blood, and they make up their minds. In the end, the verdict is guilty. The sentence is harsh, 20 years to life. As the judge reads it out, I feel nothing. I'm numb, empty. My life is over, and I have no one to blame but myself. They take me away, back to the prison where I'll spend the rest of my days. As the cell door slams shut behind me, I finally allow myself to cry. Not for me, but for Emily, for the life we lost, for the future that will never be. The courtroom is packed, the air thick with anticipation. I sit at the defense table, my hands clenched into fists, trying to stay calm. The trial has been a nightmare, every detail of my life exposed, twisted, and examined under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. But now, it's almost over. The end is in sight, and I'm bracing myself for whatever comes next. Across the room, Laura and John sit together, their expressions carefully neutral. They've put on a united front throughout this ordeal, playing the roles of the wronged wife and brother, painting me as a deranged man consumed by jealousy and rage. But I know the truth, and soon everyone else will too. The door at the back of the courtroom opens, and my daughter Emily walks in. My heart aches as I watch her take the stand. She's pale, her eyes red from crying, and I can see the toll this has taken on her. I've tried to protect her from all of this, but there's no shielding her from the reality of what's happened. She's caught in the middle of a nightmare, one I created. The prosecutor approaches her, his tone gentle but firm. "Emily, I know this is difficult, but can you tell the court what you remember about the day your father returned?" Emily glances at me, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and confusion. I want to reassure her, to tell her it's okay, but I can't. All I can do is watch as she struggles to find the words. It was like a dream," she begins, her voice trembling. "I thought he was dead. We all did. And then he was just there, in the house." I didn't know what to think. The prosecutor nods, encouraging her to continue. "And what happened after that?" She hesitates, biting her lip. He confronted my mom and John. There was yelling, and then things got violent." My chest tightens as she speaks. I know how this must sound to her, how terrifying it must have been to see me lose control like that. But she doesn't know the whole story, doesn't understand the years of betrayal and pain that led to that moment. Did your father ever explain why he was so angry? The prosecutor asks. Emily shakes her head, tears welling up in her eyes. No, he just kept saying that they lied to him, that they took everything from him. I didn't know what he meant. I still don't. Her words cut through me like a knife. I've failed her. I've failed to protect her, to make her understand. And now she's being forced to relive it all in front of strangers, to dissect our lives for the amusement of the public. The prosecutor steps back, and my lawyer stands up, moving toward the stand. He's a good man, someone who's fought hard for me despite the overwhelming odds. But I can see the doubt in his eyes, the worry that we might lose everything here. Emily, he says softly, I know this has been difficult for you, and I'm sorry you've had to go through all of this, but I need to ask you something important. Do you believe your father loves you? She looks at me again, her eyes searching mine. Yes, she whispers. I know he does. And do you believe he would ever hurt you? My lawyer asks. She shakes her head, tears streaming down her face. No. He would never hurt me. My lawyer nods, satisfied, and returns to his seat. The judge calls for a recess, and I'm escorted out of the courtroom. As I'm led away, I catch a glimpse of Laura and John. Laura is crying, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. John's face is stony, but I can see the fear in his eyes. He knows this could go either way. He knows I'm not finished yet. Back in my holding cell, I try to gather my thoughts. The trial has been brutal, but the end is near. I've waited for this moment, for the chance to finally expose the truth, to make them pay for what they did to me. But now that it's here, all I can think about is Emily. She's been dragged into this mess, forced to choose between her parents, and I can see the toll it's taken on her. I wanted revenge, but at what cost? The door opens and my lawyer walks in, his expression grim. The prosecution's closing arguments are strong, he says, sitting down across from me. They've painted you as a man driven by jealousy and rage. It's going to be tough to counter that. I nod, feeling the weight of his words. I knew this would be a battle, but I didn't expect it to be this hard. But, he continues, we still have the evidence you found, the emails, the documents. We can show the jury that this wasn't just some outburst. It was a reaction to years of betrayal, to a plan to erase you from your own life. I take a deep breath, steeling myself. Then we do it. We show them everything. He nods, standing up. Let's go. Back in the courtroom, the tension is palpable. The jury is seated, their expressions unreadable as they prepare to hear the final arguments. My lawyer stands, his voice calm and measured as he begins. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard a lot of testimony over the past few weeks. You've seen evidence that paints my client as a man consumed by anger and jealousy. But what you haven't seen is the full picture. Today, I'm going to show you that picture. He walks over to the evidence table, picking up a stack of papers. These are emails exchanged between John and Laura over the past several years. In these emails, you'll see the truth about how they conspired to fake my client's death, to take his life, his family, his identity. He hands the papers to the jury, letting them read as he continues. This wasn't just a simple affair. This was a calculated, deliberate plan to erase my client from existence. And when he discovered the truth, yes, he was angry. But wouldn't you be? Wouldn't any of us be? The prosecutor objects, but the judge allows the evidence. My lawyer presses on, showing the jury every detail of their betrayal. The fake death certificate, the life insurance payout, the transfer of assets. It's all there, in black and white. As the jury reads, I watch their faces, trying to gauge their reactions. Some look shocked, others disgusted. But one thing is clear. They're starting to see the truth. When the closing arguments are finished, the jury is dismissed to deliberate. The wait is agonizing, every minute stretching into an eternity. I sit in my cell, my thoughts consumed by Emily. I've done everything I can to protect her, but now it's out of my hands. I can only hope the jury sees the truth, that they understand why I did what I did. Hours later, the verdict is in. The jury files back into the courtroom, their faces serious. I stand as the judge asked for their decision, my heart pounding in my chest. On the charge of attempted murder, the foreman says, his voice steady, we find the defendant not guilty. A wave of relief washes over me, but it's short-lived. There are still other charges, other battles to fight. On the charge of assault, the foreman continues, we find the defendant guilty. My heart sinks, but I try to stay strong. I knew there would be consequences. I knew I couldn't walk away from this unscathed. The judge sentences me to 5 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 3. It's not the outcome I wanted, but it's better than I expected. As I'm led away, I catch one last glimpse of Emily. She's crying, but there's a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I hold on to that hope, knowing it's the only thing that will get me through the years ahead. Back in my cell, I reflect on everything that's happened. The betrayal, the trial, the verdict. It's been a long, painful journey, but in the end, I found the truth. I exposed the lies, the deceit, and now I have to live with the consequences. But I'll keep fighting. For Emily, for the chance to rebuild my life, to find some semblance of peace after the storm. And as I sit in the darkness, I know one thing for certain. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning of a new chapter, a new fight, and I'm ready for whatever comes next. I stand outside the courthouse, the weight of everything that's happened pressing down on me. The air is crisp, the sun warm on my face, but it feels surreal, like I'm watching someone else's life from the outside. The trial is over, the verdict given. I've been acquitted of the worst charges, but nothing about this feels like a victory. I reflect on the journey that brought me here. It all started the day I walked into that house, expecting to find the life I'd left behind, only to discover it had been ripped away from me. The shock, the betrayal, the anger that consumed me, it all led to this moment. I wanted revenge, and I got it, but the cost was higher than I ever imagined. Emily. My thoughts always circle back to her. She's been through hell because of me. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from the truth. But in the end, I only made things worse. She testified in that courtroom, reliving the nightmare of that day, and it broke something inside me to see the pain in her eyes. She's not here now. I haven't seen her since the verdict was read. Laura took her and left, and I can't blame her. Emily needs time to heal, to process everything that's happened. I've asked my lawyer to arrange a meeting, but I don't know if she'll want to see me. I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. The media swarms as I step off the courthouse steps, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions. I ignore them, focusing on getting to the car that's waiting to take me away from all of this. My lawyer is beside me, guiding me through the chaos, but I barely hear him. My mind is elsewhere, lost in the wreckage of my life. As I slide into the back seat, I finally allow myself to breathe. The car pulls away, leaving the courthouse behind, but the memories linger. The trial, the testimonies, the revelations. It all plays out in my mind like a twisted movie I can't turn off. My thoughts drift back to Laura and John. They're the ones who should be paying for what they did, but instead, it's me who's left picking up the pieces. They'll face their own consequences, but it won't be enough to undo the damage they've caused. Nothing can. But despite everything, there's a small flicker of hope. The truth is out now. The lies have been exposed, and while it doesn't erase the past, it's a start. I have to believe that Emily will understand someday, that she'll see why I did what I did. But for now, all I can do is wait and hope that time will heal the wounds I've caused. We arrive at my new apartment, a small place that feels more like a temporary shelter than a home. I step inside, the silence overwhelming. I'm alone, truly alone for the first time since all of this began. It's a strange feeling, liberating and terrifying all at once. I walk through the apartment, taking in the bare walls, the empty rooms. There's nothing here that ties me to my old life. And maybe that's a good thing. I need a fresh start, a clean slate. But the emptiness is a stark reminder of what I've lost. This isn't the life I wanted, but it's the life I have now. I sit down on the couch, my head in my hands, and let the reality of it all sink in. The fight is over, but the war inside me rages on. I don't know how to move forward, how to rebuild after everything that's happened. But I know I have to try, for Emily, if not for myself. The phone rings, pulling me out of my thoughts. I reach for it, my heart skipping a beat when I see the caller ID. It's Emily. I hesitate for a moment, fear and hope warring inside me, before I answer. Emily? I say, my voice rough. There's a long pause on the other end, and for a moment, I think she's going to hang up. But then I hear her take a shaky breath. Dad, she says, her voice small, uncertain. My heart aches at the sound of her voice, so fragile and lost. Emily, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, she whispers. But you did. The truth of her words cuts deep, but I don't try to defend myself. I don't have the right. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you. She's silent for a long time, and I can hear the faint sound of her breathing on the other end. I wait, giving her the space she needs, hoping she'll find the words she's searching for. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, she finally says, her voice trembling. But I don't want to lose you again. Tears sting my eyes, and I struggle to keep my voice steady. You won't. I'm here, Emily. I'm not going anywhere. She takes another deep breath, and I can hear the resolve in her voice when she speaks again. We need to talk about everything. Whenever you're ready, I say, my heart pounding in my chest. I'm not ready yet, she admits, but I will be. I need time. I understand, I say softly. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. She doesn't say anything for a long time, and I wonder if she's going to hang up. But then she speaks, her voice barely above a whisper. I love you, Dad. The tears I've been holding back finally spill over. I love you too, Emily, more than anything. She hangs up, and I'm left sitting there, the phone still pressed to my ear, the sound of her voice echoing in my mind. It's not much, but it's a start. A small step toward healing, toward rebuilding the relationship I nearly destroyed. I wipe the tears from my face, a sense of bittersweet hope settling in my chest. The road ahead is long, and I don't know what the future holds, but I'm determined to face it head on. I've been through hell, but I'm still standing. I've lost so much, but I still have a chance to make things right. I stand up, walking over to the window and looking out at the city below. The sun is setting, casting a warm glow over the buildings, and for the first time in a long while, I feel a glimmer of peace. This chapter of my life is over, but a new one is just beginning. It won't be easy, and there will be days when the pain feels too heavy to bear, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next. I'm ready to start over.